You know, I don't know if you all, if anyone else has noticed this detail, but when we first started doing Zoom, it didn't do that. So you could like discreetly start recording, and you can't do that anymore, which is probably feedback Zoom received, like give people a heads up.
Yeah. Yeah, it gave me an option to leave the meeting, creepers. No, I'm just kidding. But speaking of, I thought it'd be fun to do like a little icebreaker, just you know, to help get to know each other a little bit. And so I wanted to ask, this might be totally the wrong question, but I'm curious, what's your favorite thing to do on social media? Like, what's your favorite part of it, or the thing you look most forward to, or the, yeah, whatever. I'll just tell you mine just to kind of get the ball rolling. For me, it's not, I don't really do much social media. I don't think you could call YouTube social media, but I do. I like to watch, I watch all kinds of stuff, but if I watch news and stuff and I read the comments and I want to argue with somebody, I sometimes do, but then I delete all my comments right away. You know what I mean? Because it's like I want to blow off some steam, but I just don't want to put it out into the world. So I feel like I can do it for a second and then take it back. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what came to my mind. Anyway,
Hey, Adam, I'm kind of the same way. I, okay. So as we all know, Adam and Emily know this. I love BTS. I love BTS. But the thing about it is you can't disagree with a single thing they do, or people attack you and you're like, you hate them, you don't like them, or whatever. So my favorite thing to do is to like comment something on like a post being like totally left field. So like one thing you can't do is you can't make a comment on like who's the best out of like a vocal line or a rap line. And so I just commented on this post and I was like, Jin has the best vocals hands down. It was a joke. People in the comments were so upset. It brings me joy.
I'm mad sitting here. I'm boiling.
And it brings me joy to just reply back to them and be like, you're mad. Why? I don't know why. It brings me so much joy. I should probably grow up a little bit and not do that. But 18-year-old Diani loves fighting in TikTok comments.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up question is what medium are you using to do this? So TikTok primarily. Okay. All right.
My first. Do you want to go first?
Well, this is not my answer. It's a BTS comment for Diani only. Is the kids are obsessed with the song Butter. And I keep meaning to text you. I have told them, I'm like, you guys, Miss Diani loves BTS. And they like, I have to play it anywhere we go, in the car, everywhere we go.
That makes my heart so happy.
Yeah.
I mean, my first thought of social media was like my Instagram, and I like really like showing like this aesthetic and like making my feed look all pretty and like my stories look all pretty and like using the right songs and like just showing my like music taste and like kind of how I like make it look pretty and like showing this aesthetic I create. I guess that's how I use my social media.
I really like that answer. It just shows like, I don't know, that's just a thoughtful way to use it, or like to allow it to be an expression of creativity, and that's cool. Very cool. I don't know if I have an answer. I basically only use Instagram. And I like doing stories, mostly like funny ones of my kids. Maybe they do something I think is funny, maybe nobody else thinks is funny. But I'm taking an Instagram break right now, a little bit. I'm not quitting because I'm not so naive as to say I'm going to quit. But I just needed a little space from the Discovery tab. And that kind of was like fitting with my trying to rest this month from just, yeah. I think that's actually why I've read more. I was saying earlier, I've read 3 fiction books. And I think it's just because I have not been scrolling Instagram. So I sit down and I'm like, what do I do? Oh, I'll read my book. Like, so. Anyway.
Cool. All right. Yeah, thanks for humoring me on that. And so my thing now is every meeting should have a focus, and every focus should have a reason why it matters, and that's purpose, and every purpose should have outcomes, and then those outcomes should have methods for like how do we want to spend our resources across those methods to produce those outcomes. And in a meeting, that resource is time, How do we want to divide up our time to what topics? So I just want to put out there that do we have a focus? Because I have a way to say it, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pull this up while you're talking about it.
Good.
This is kind of what we're working off of today, so we can
Yeah.
take it
So-
away.
Yeah, so I want to talk about organizational leadership. That's to me the focus, really. YPI is an organization, and the principles of organizational leadership, they absolutely apply. You're going to use them for the rest of your lives. You know, you're just getting warmed up with it. This will be like really, anyway, it's going to be valuable. And it's going to be how we're going to get from shore to shore. Shore is like the beginning of the year, and we're going to get to the end of the year. And in between, organizational leadership is how that happens. And whatever else we say about organizational leadership, one thing I know to be true is that the degree to which your life is ordered, well ordered, in order, will affect the degree to which the organization or your ability to bring order to the organization. Does that make sense? Order means we know what we're doing, we're effective, we don't dilly-dally, we make good use of our time, we don't have a lot of drama, and we reach our outcomes. And that's just true of any friend group, any family, any school, any faith community, any workplace. So the things we're going to talk about are really just apply to that. So I don't know, any comments or response to that, the statement that the degree to which your life is ordered will impact the degree to which the organization is aligned and effective and orderly.
I would say that is spot on to be a facilitator. I think if you don't have anything in order and you are kind of all over the place, it really impacts the progress that the cohort can make. Especially like within the entire time frame you have, like whether it's a progress session or a monthly meeting, like it really impacts it. So being organized and just having an idea of what you need to get done is like prime to make a successful meeting.
My reaction is,
Go
do you
ahead.
want to? Okay. It's just like how I think of it as how like you guys have talked about how like every like meeting you guys will have like a meeting before it and just to prepare yourselves, because like every time we go on those like meetings you guys always have like an agenda. We're always prepared. We already know what we're gonna do, so everyone's kind of on track.
Mhm. Yeah, it's huge, and I think Adam and myself and Deani would all be able to say that we've done YPI long enough to see the impact of that. Like if I know things are crazy at my house, I don't kind of have my head focused on what the meeting's going to be about, or we're rushed in exec and we're not like, there's a trickle down effect. I'm late to the call, so we're late to planning, so we're late, like, and then that impacts how the whole SPS is run. Like I'm guilty of that, and I've seen it like have an impact on the just the productivity of the group. So,
And the reason is, I'm just going to say it, I know it's going to sound weird, but it's because of a principle that is responsible for everything, and we don't give it any credit. So this is a shout out to the idea of continuation. That everything now is a continuation of what preceded it. I'm going somewhere with this. Everything that is now comes from what preceded it, right? And everything that was before that come from what preceded that. So if that's true, then we know that right now is the precedent for something about to come, right? And then something after that and something after that. So if we harness that continuation, if we harness it, what I call that is progression. We're harnessing that idea, oh, okay, what came before something determines what comes after. So that's why I want to show you, this approach takes care of that. It has that principle in mind, that if we start with what our focus is and why it matters, then that's like the bottom of your spinal column, like that, or the first layer of brick in a house. You want that to be really clear and straight. Otherwise, the rest of it is going to be all cattywampus. So
Don't want cattywampus.
honestly, you don't. I mean, it's fun, like for like short term, but for long term, you don't want cattywampus for sure. So then the next step, the next layer of bricks on top of that is merely an extension of purpose. It's like, oh, okay, if that's why we're here and what our focus is and why it matters, then what is the future version? Meaning at the end of the meeting, what do we want it to look like? But we're gonna answer that question now. Right? And then we're going to say, okay, what are our methods? Or how do we want to distribute our resources? And then this is the kind of open area of the meeting where we make progress. We diverge and converge. We're already diverged. That's the point of the meetings. We all have different views and different opinions. But if we get into alignment, hopefully our ideas are better. We've moved things forward and we conclude with clarity. See, and a plus and a delta is whatever contributed to forward progress. And a delta is anything that kind of like inhibited progress. You see how I'm demonstrating inhibited? It's all scat, you know, it's like makes you not like you're not making progress. And then you conclude with clarity. And then you adjourn, but then that sets the stage for the next meeting, which, you know, like I start here, I know, oh, there's a cat. Is that what you're laughing at? Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, photo bomb. No, it's all good. So connecting with self is kind of what I mean by having your house in order, you know, and having the team get there as well, because they're all in different places. All right, I'll stop there. Any reaction, any of that?
Good.
All right, that's all I need to say for the rest of the show.
No, I think that's good because the more Fia and Lucy are able to just like know that. I mean, Deani, how many times have you heard that?
Quite a few times.
Right? But like you kind of knew where Adam was going, and that's Fia and Lucy. We want you all to be in that place too, where you could, you know, step up to running any meeting and know immediately, these are the questions that we start with. This is how I organize the flow. And then, you know, Adam's going to say it over and over again. Then all you have to do is make it easy for them to run the meeting. So I love it. So I'm going to do that now, if that's okay for this meeting. Okay. So looking at actually, Adam, in the idea of like continuation, I have just on a practical sense, when I've been making just very rough draft agendas for these calls, I just kept it all the same document. But I mean, that it's clunky probably for other like larger meetings, but for this, it's like, we can just look, it's just a progression of a conversation that we have divided up over 1 hour increments. And so that it's at the bottom of this document that we've from the past meetings that we've had. So we can like look at the notes from last time and it will help us. But really what I had in mind, so the focus today, we can just talk about that real quick, just to expand, is to continue, I would say, to continue these conversations to get Fia and Lucy set up. Anybody want to add to that? Or is that thumbs up? That's good. Okay, and then Fia, this one would kind of be for you to think about, not to put you on the spot, all of us will help you, but like, how would this feel like it was worth your time? You know, what would success feel like for you? Because obviously it's mostly about you getting the most out of this time. So was there anything coming into it, you were like, I really would like to talk about this. I really want to make sure we're clear on this. Or I want to move forward on this thing.
Probably like hearing like Deani and like if Bria shows up, like their experiences as like their like co-facilitator experience, you know, hearing that and maybe like taking what I can with that.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. That's great. That's helpful because we'll do that first. Like, I think that, and then that prioritizes Deani's time too. So, Adam, do you have anything you want to add to it?
No. What I heard Fia say is she wanted me to go through all of my theories and slides for the next hour. So let's get into it. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I'm totally on board. Diani, I think it's time for you to, you have a lot of knowledge you've gained over the year. Like you were in Fia's position, so spill the beans.
I, in fact, was in your position. Okay. So to preface, I facilitated alone. So I utilized my entire cohort as being the backbone to make our project successful, as well as me being successful. So one of my favorite things to do was to get them involved in making the agenda. One, it made it easier on me, and I knew exactly what they wanted to do. Um, I think the best thing you can do, like straight out of the gate, is figuring out like what kind of who thrives best in what environment. Some people thrive best in like working on their own in a little corner and they bust out some of the best work you've seen. Some people love being in this big group, just talking and getting things done. Some people like I always had one person, Ria with an I, she loved helping me plan out like our icebreakers or like our break games. She loves like having fun. And so she was always someone I could go to and be like, Ria, like, what should we do? And she was like my girl and she helped me out. So knowing who like gets like who to tap into to get like the best out of a certain area is one of the best things you can do. And it also helps the cohort realize like you're still on like the same level as them because there's kind of this like energy where it's like, oh, you're the facilitator, so you're a little above us now, but it's like, no, we're still very much equals. And so when you show them that they're still a part of the experience and that you're just helping them, you're trying to make easy, trying to make it easier to just create a project and for its progression. Just utilizing them to the best of your ability was my favorite thing to do. One thing that was challenging for me personally was learning how to these people are your friends. You have this amazing bond with them and you love them and you don't want to be like harsh with them or like stern, but it's also your job to make sure that things are progressing and getting done. And so knowing it's that like fine line of facilitating, but also having that friendship. Adam and Emily were my favorite people to talk to when something was going on because I'd be like, how do I address this? How do I say this? They are amazing when it comes to one, helping with any issues in the cohort. They will be like, we can talk about it. You don't have to talk about it. We'll do it. But they also allow you the space to kind of grow those skills, and they kind of help you tap into it being okay to let someone know that there's an issue while also still understanding that like there's no hard feelings. It's just I see that you're a fan on one when you were a fan on 3 weeks ago, and what's the issue? So I would definitely like if there is something that is holding back the cohort, talk to Adam and Emily about it. They probably have noticed it and wanted you to bring it up. They might bring it up first. They really have your back when it comes to anything challenging. My experience overall was very fun, but also a little stressful because we had like nothing done coming into year 3. Like we honestly started out with a clean slate of just trying to redo everything. So I was a little nervous. So, and I let the cohort know that I was scared. When you're like, they knew that I was like, y'all, this is a little scary. So one, just being transparent that you are new in this and you don't have all the answers. But also knowing that like you're still in this together. One, the best thing to do is to, like just be honest with them. If they okay, I'm gonna tell you a secret. You didn't hear this from me. My group had a hard time showing up and being accountable for what they said they would do. And I had to have a discussion with them that like, hey, you signed up for this. I need you to show up and do what is expected of you. So when you're honest with them about what they're lacking and what they're great at. Also give them praise. They love when you praise them because it's so nice. It makes you feel good. And they also like, oh, she's noticing that I'm doing something. They're noticing like what I'm putting into this. So just being open about everything you see is, whether it be good or bad, is one thing that I did the most, I would say. Also, exec calls with Adam and Emily are the best times to be like, I don't know where to go from here. What do you think we should do? Because they've done this over and over and over, and they can tell you the next 15 steps, but will give you the one step that you need to like finally get you over that hump. Because you will have some humps where it's like, I have no idea where we're going. And they'll be able to tell you like, okay, they'll give you like 3 options. And one of them is going to be the best option you've ever heard in your life. So also just being honest with them about you not knowing what to do. I did it quite a few times. I had no idea what we should do from now, where we should go from. Also, I would say your project, can you remember what your project is again?
It's on human trafficking.
Okay. One, having a great knowledge about your project will make it easier, a clear understanding of what exactly you are trying to, like what your end goal is. Adam and Emily do say a lot, like think about it like branches on a tree. You want like the thinnest branch, like the most basic of the basic ideas. You want it to be like just that, not overall like all these different things. You want it to be focused on like this one branch, and that is what you're going to be tackling. So when you think about it like the one branch you're tackling out of the entire tree, it makes it a lot easier to just that's a good one. What is the knowledge base? Yeah, that's a good one. Honestly, I would say that right there is what helped our cohort be so like just be able to, we were able to work on our own a lot without having to kind of backtrack and be like, okay, what are we doing again? We utilized Basecamp. Basecamp is your best friend. Open all of the folders, all of the files, and just have as much information as you can on there, because then everyone has access to all the information they need to be successful. You're gonna have some amazing people who love to do 30,000 things at one time, and they're so amazing at it. Don't let them do it. Do not let them do the 30,000 things at one time, because one, although they're amazing at it, you're like, bestie, you don't have to do this on your own. There are 20 plus other of us. We're working together. So there are gonna be some people who like, I don't necessarily know. Okay, so what we did is we utilized the burn down list. So everyone just kind of picked what they wanted to do. Some people need a cap on what they're going to do. And some people, you need to push some more to be like, I know you can do more than just this one thing. So like that once again goes back to just kind of knowing people's strengths. Some people will try. Okay, there was this guy in our cohort. He amazing, so smart, but like he was amazing. He really was, but would do like the bare minimum. But when you pushed him to do more, you got amazing work out of him. So just knowing that someone might need like a nudge, and that was like what they needed, and you just got 30 things done that you didn't think were going to get done until next month, just because you asked them to take on a little more. And some people are just like, you have a lot on your plate right now. Let me take some things off and free you up. Would be one thing that I would say. It honestly just comes down to kind of like people management. People management is a big thing when it comes to being a facilitator.
Yeah, because really you've said so many good things, Deani, but just to like really it's the project is not on the facilitator's shoulders. It's really, we've said that before, it's the cohort's project. So it's really like your job really is helping them to progress, but managing the dynamic. We're just learning the longer we do YPI, the more attention we can give to the group dynamic, the more effective the project will be. Just time and time again. So anyway, I kind of interject just to let Gianni take a breath, and then I'm trying to take some notes here too, but Adam, you have anything else?
Well, yeah, I mean, I keep throwing like and Lucy doesn't see this, but I'm texting some thoughts or comments as Deani's talking because I mean it's bringing up so much of like what's at the core of it. Managing the people is really what it is, and honestly, we already start that process before you're ever in that role because we're selecting with the idea that this person could be a successful participant in a cohort. And but once they get into the cohort, how do we keep them being that way? So the project isn't on the shoulder of the facilitators. What's on the shoulder of the facilitators is having the cohort and the people management be at its best. And so I'm gonna like be pushing for the tools more. I mean, I kind of been, soft pedaling some things, but I want to throw up on the screen. I when people say throw up and then they don't finish, the rest of the statement. I want to throw up onto the screen. I want to put up onto the screen gently for your viewing pleasure a model that I think expresses what I'm trying to get to is that in every organization you have these 3 layers, S, T, and O, and you're the S. With Emily and I, the co-facilitators are the S, strategic. We're supposed to think out big picture, maybe not all these things, and don't worry about all that. Tactical layers more like the mid-range. They're thinking, shorter term, and they're thinking in terms of projects. And then operational is actually doing the nuts and bolts of what we need to do. So it's like big picture, projects and plans, and then action items. And I'm finding new ways to show it like S, T, and O. Or even if you look at it this way, I think this is really important. This is what I'm teaching in organizations. So I'm just going to show you, if you'll indulge, kind of at the core of the organization is its purpose. What do you think I would put out here on the outside? Oh, sorry, didn't do that. Out here would be your outcomes, your results. And the way you get your results is through your operations, but that's probably not the right word. I use another word. I use the word actions sometimes. The only thing that produces your outcomes are actions. But tactics are how you know what actions to take. And the reason you know what actions to take is because, or your tactic to use is because it's determined by your strategy. So I would even show it like a slice of the pie. If I were to take this slice here real quick, this little slice, I would draw it like this. I would say, all right, here's your purpose, and your strategy is meant to kind of get it out there. And in order to get your strategy translated, you have to break it up into pieces. You have to get it organized. And then little action steps, these little degree marks here are your action steps. And that's what produces your outcomes over here. And then if I can even just show you one more way, the last, well, okay, I'll show you 2 more ways. What I just showed you is like this, purpose to outcomes. And then you might have 5 or 6 of these strategies, of these gears. And then each one of these gears, big gears, has these smaller gears. And if if everybody's turning the gears, and that's kind of what the cohort is doing, is that if you can get your burn down list, that's what this is. But what determines your burn down list are these things. And Deani, you kind of had 4 main, main strategies in your cohort, right?
Yes.
Do you want to say what they are? Do you remember any of them? I know it's been a little bit, but
we had curriculum,
right?
PR at one point. Partnerships. There we go.
I can pull it up.
It's all right. This is good.
Yeah.
The other one.
I'll stop talking and sharing my screen right after I show you this. This is one more look. Do you see how it's basically the same look? It's the same model. It's just a different look, actually. So your purpose, you want to get to your outcomes, and how you're going to do it is you got your main strategies. Usually there's like 4 to 6 strategies. And then strategies are broken down into as many tactics as are needed to fulfill that strategy. And then each tactic is broken down into the individual action steps to move it forward. And that's what produces your outcomes. And if your outcomes are an extension of your purpose, then you get to thrive. Okay.
Oh.
That's how I define thriving, by the way. If your outcomes in your life as individuals, if they're not matching your authentic purpose, you're not going to thrive. So you can have great outcomes. I know people who are popular and rich and beautiful and unhappy. Because being those things aren't what makes them happy. I mean, I'm talking about myself here. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not, obviously. But like, so our outcomes need to be an expression of our purpose, and that's why I start with purpose. All right, thank you for indulging. I just want to share all
This
that.
is good. Actually, I'm really glad we're recording it because you're like kind of rolling through these things in like a really condensed way. That's good. I want to highlight a couple things Diani said that I'm going to reiterate. That actually, Diani, I think you did better than any co-facilitator we've had, and that was your honesty. Just being really honest with the cohort. I think we've had, and this is so natural. I think adult managers do this all the time. Like when they don't know something, parents do this, pretend like they know the answer, and they're gonna, no worries. Rather than just being like, guys, this is hard. I'm not really sure where we're going, but like, and I think when we assume some authority, we mistakenly think that means we have to automatically be experts, and we don't. So I think Diani did a good job of being honest with the cohort, and they were stuck. I also want to give you your cohort credit because of COVID. I mean, let's just say, like, Diani inherited the cohort the first year that we were back from COVID. I mean, we still had to do some virtual, like, so it was, it was not typical at all. So.
And we had okay, here's something we've never talked about, because when we were in the middle of it, we had some major like health issues in the cohort with some people, you know? Yeah. I mean, mental health, physical health.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the reason that's, I mean, obviously that really, health can really hijack a person's resilience, or wear it down or diminish it. And so what does that do for the cohort when you have several instances? We had somebody who basically was out of the cohort for a year. And even then didn't really come back ever, and was one of the strongest cohort members for a while. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dynamics to manage, but I think you did a great job, Diani, of like making that transparent and inviting others to step up. And I think that helped you, and it helped the cohort, and it helped them grow too. I think other people, specifically grew as a result of your leadership.
Yeah. Okay, I do have a question for Diani, and then Fia, also feel like you can ask too. That's just your cue to be thinking if you want to. Diani, I would ask you to maybe think about, how did you personally grow through the experience of being a co-facilitator?
I can say I grew in my confidence of, okay, I come off as this very competent person. And when in reality it was a facade. I wasn't very confident in my skills to lead. I wasn't confident in my skills to be able to take on this role that seems very, very big. And I was doing it on my own, which I decided, I was like, I'm gonna do it on my own. They gave me the option. I was like, no, I'm fine. I'll do it on my own. I'm fine. And so when I finally had to facilitate, I was like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't think I can do this. I'd walk into every meeting. I have like really bad anxiety. I'd be like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I would tell them, like, guys, I feel like I feel nauseous. I feel so sick. But by the end of it, I could walk up there and I could bust out everything that needed to be done, and life was good. Also, organizational skills. I'm not a very organized person. Being a facilitator really helped me be a lot more, honestly, the STO helped me the most, being a lot more strategic. I am someone, my brain thinks big picture, and then I have like no idea where to go from there. And I'm like, how do I get to that picture? So being able to be like, okay, I need to be strategic. I need to know what I'm doing, what I'm going to use to get there, and then actually doing it. And my cohort honestly thought the same way. They were very big picture people. So STO helped us a lot, and it still helps me all the time. I went to college in my first year of college. That's how I got through it. When I had like due dates, I would start my due date, was my outcome, and I would just be like, you got to write the paper. What are you going to write the paper about? How are you going to write the paper? You need to research it, So honestly, my favorite thing I still use to this day. Thank you. Thank you, Adam, for STO. I really appreciate that. Also just being able to people skills, being able to have tough conversations with people, but also knowing that like just because you just had a tough conversation with someone about them being late doesn't mean you're holding it against them, doesn't mean you guys still aren't friends, doesn't mean, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Also, real world skills, discussing time, money, and all these things with like really big, well-known people. I mean, by the end of it, like you're going to be talking to PR companies, you're going to be talking to web designers and videographers, you're going to be doing all these things, you're going to have to turn down people. And that was one thing that my cohort hated doing. We hated telling someone like, we're not going to be using you anymore. And Adam and Emily walked us through doing that. You learn a lot of these skills that honestly you wouldn't learn going to school and being a part of a group project, just because it is so hands-on and you are able to do so much with just adult supervision. Adam and Emily really, now that you have a facilitator, they're really not going to do, they're going to sit in the corner, ask a couple questions, tell you lunch is there, do some lessons, and it's all on you. And so you just get to be so hands-on that you get to grow in so many different ways. That I went into college being someone who didn't like talking to people, like brand new people, didn't like, it was weird. And also working in like in groups, I was able to like lead the group and tell them like exactly what we needed to do. I was going to tell someone like, hey bestie, you're not doing what we said you would do, without coming off as like abrasive, because you learn how to talk to people without being like defensive or like coming off as like it's it's a conflict, when really you just need to come to a resolution and like an agreement that like someone wasn't doing something and you are now in agreement that they're going to change that. So I would say those are the things that honestly, those would be the skills and the tools that I walked away with that were the most impactful for me.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, like, as we're talking, are there any, like, because, like, as Emily said, this is all for supporting you and Lucy and in your year ahead. So, is this helpful? What is this doing for you? And then, what else would you like to, talk about?
I feel like this is pretty helpful, and it kind of makes me feel like also realistic. Like we like have to be like more. I feel like we've all been very friendly because it's like we're still like knowing each other, but sometimes like I mean, I'm a bit scared to be firm with people, but I feel like we may have to start being a bit more firm with like some of our cohort members, because like we've discussed how like some people aren't as engaged as others. So like knowing that I just have to probably be upfront, it makes me feel more at ease, because like I've always been like nervous about having those conversations of like fans on three, because we've talked about it before, but like not, it's just like not really gotten into heads, I feel like. So I think it's made me less nervous kind of about it, because it's like I just have to go with it as in like a like firm, like I'm just talking to you as a peer, like it's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll coach you on all of that. We're not gonna like these are skills you're going to gain, but you're not gonna gain them by like being thrown into the fire. We're, it's a process of developing that skill, and it's invaluable. There are so many adults I have encountered in the professional world who don't know how to give and receive feedback, or don't know how to do it without, like Deanna used the word, being abrasive or passive aggressive, or over personalizing the feedback that they do receive. It is such an important skill to be able to do that. And if we can create a group that's comfortable giving and receiving feedback, it will be the most effective group we've ever had.
It is absolutely that, and that's the way of talking about managing people. And I want to show you another model because it's that one up on the board, because this is honestly, you can make a living teaching this. I'm proof of it, all right, to corporations. And what I teach is this is how to handle exactly the awkwardness of what we're talking about. The very first thing is we need to be advocates of reality. That's all. What's the reality? What's the reality? The reality is we're expecting this. You said you were going to do this, but your behavior's been that. That's all. And honestly, if everybody behaved that way, the cohort would be nowhere. So I'm just bringing it to your attention. Now, the next challenge is this one, because this is going to set off people's egos, and people might get upset. Is Deani all right? Did she have to take off?
No, I think she just had to turn a camera off.
Right. So managed neurology is that, but you have to manage your own first. And you talking about that, Fia, is really part of that process, like recognizing that. And then I just want to assess alignment. Hey, do you see it differently than I do? If so, how? Get me more aligned with you, or you get more aligned with me. Where are we? And then once because with some people, you'll never get alignment, and it has nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. And other people, just doing these 2 steps would already increase alignment. You may be nervous over here, but by the time you get here, the other person's like, yeah. And this happens more than anything else. The other person is like, they own up to it, But then okay, what's the next positive action? Because remember, my philosophy is we want to make progress. We don't need to be perfect. So what would be anything, I don't care, what would be good forward progress? And anybody can agree to that. I mean, so this is a broad model, but if you just kind of follow these steps, they really do work, and they address it. It's just getting skillful at it. Anyway, any thoughts or reactions to that?
Sorry, guys, my mom broke her foot, so I had to help her get into her room. Yeah, it's been a fun week.
Oh. Okay. Any reactions to that? And then I want to kind of keep moving through a couple of things, since we only have about 10 minutes left.
One thing I will say, Fia, when it comes to there's someone you need to have a discussion with, I would say, one, talk to Adam and Emily. They'll be able to gauge whether it's something you should take on, and whether it's a conversation it's okay for you to have, or if it's something they think they should address. Because there were times where something was going on and they addressed it rather than me. And there are sometimes just things you don't necessarily need to call someone out on, with a personal conversation. There was a few times where I just made a general statement to the cohort that I noticed things were going on. Let's change it. And if things don't change after that, then once again, go back with Adam and Emily, gauge who should have that discussion. And I also had a conversation just with the entire cohort of what was expected out of all of us, so that no one felt singled out, but also everyone was in agreement that we all know what is expected out of us from that conversation moving forward. And then after that, and we also all decided what would be the next steps if from that conversation someone continued to be disengaged or things like that. So also just having them come to an agreement of what they expect out of everyone, and even what they want to see happen afterwards, whether it's a conversation with you, Adam and Emily, because then they know what to expect if that does happen.
Yeah, that's a good point of just kind of running those things by us. Because I remember, I can't think of I can't think of some specific examples, but there were sometimes you were like, hey, this person's really disengaged. And we, as the adults, had some insight, and we're like, you know what, that one is okay. So there's just some sensitivities and stuff that we can sometimes help with. So
we're always willing. So you and Lucy know we're always willing to have those conversations. So you always have the option to call in the lifelines.
Yeah, that's our job. So yeah. Okay. Well, what I was planning to kind of just do like with the rest of the time is go over our next steps from last time and then talk about what's to come. So should we let Deani be on her way, or you're welcome to hang out, but we're going to be talking probably logistics. So
I would just say, Fia, if you and Lucy, who will be watching this, if you guys have any questions or need any more advice, I'm always willing to talk. I bet Ria is willing to text you. So just ask like Adam and Emily for our numbers. You can just text me and be like, hey, it's Fia. Hey, it's Lucy. I got a question. And I will more than likely have an answer. I am with you. We are in this facilitator stuff for life.
Thank you. That's
Bye,
awesome. Have a great rest of your
bye,
summer.
Deani. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
No problem.
Later. Okay. Isn't she lovely?
Isn't she wonderful?
You see what you're doing? What's the next line? True. I don't know. Maybe wonder sometimes if you're singing it, you have to just go to a mumble. You're like, truly, but because you don't know.
I know, I can't think of the next lyric. That's all I got. All right. And it's
Anyway.
like, what are these geezers talking about?
We just recorded that. Okay.
Stop calling us-
I want to look. This is from the last call. So real quick, I was just going to walk through some things and it's okay if these are just like, we're going to keep working on them. I can give my updates in that.
Let's go one by one. Did you guys make an agenda and purpose questions? Like, did you do the purpose questions yet?
I did the agenda, but I don't know if we did the purpose questions.
Okay. So I think maybe one of the between, if I'm jumping down here, some next steps would be for you and Lucy to find a time to chat and kind of frame that out so that what we could prioritize on the 15th is pulling that agenda up and finishing it together. Does that sound okay?
And not that you'll want this, but I'm happy to pop in and join you guys if you guys are like, hey, what are we, whatever. I don't want you to feel like we're just throwing you out there. So I don't have much going on, and Zooming is super easy for me. All right.
Yeah. So, and it may just be maybe you just touch base with Lucy to say, hey, here's what I've got. What do you have? Or do we think we're ready to, do we have what we need so that when we are together on the 15th, we can finish the agenda and feel good about it? So that's kind of really it. So, okay. And then I saw on the next one up here that Lucy posted about the retreat date on Basecamp. So that's good. I've linked down here the document with all the year two meeting dates. So it's just easy for y'all to find. So that's there.
Has any dates changed? Because I think I have it maybe already, but I don't know if it's changed at all. And if it's a new document.
No, I took one random one off, Adam. I was going to tell you in April, just because we had a progress session that it happened to be Easter Sunday, and we don't normally do a call on that. So I just took it off. But other than that, I think everything is the same. So we do have room 3106 reserved.
That's good news. That's the cool room. That's the room that doesn't require us to move the desks every time. That's the one that has the bouncy chairs. That's the one that'll make it easy to play seated basketball. That room is the bomb. That's a score. No, that's a big deal. If we had to get the other rooms, I would have been a little bummed. So
okay, yeah, we're all set for that. And then we've already got our next call, and then we've got our year two retreat is that Saturday.
And I'll say while this is being recorded, so I know it's documented. To keep that room, we really want to make sure that we treat it respectfully, and that is make it the whole cohort's responsibility that it's cleaned up by the end of the day, and throughout the day we're not, making a mess. Anyway.
Okay. Another next step I think that we really need to think about is how to sort of rally everyone back together. You know, we've all been dispersed doing our own thing over the summer. I think people are probably out of the habit of checking notifications and all of that. So the next like week or two, that's naturally going to happen as people start, you know, getting ready for school to start. And so they'll be like, oh yeah, YPI. But we need to probably try to post some content to start engaging them on Basecamp, or sending out a group message to say, hey, everybody check Basecamp for XYZ, or, you know, maybe just thinking, is there some creative way that we can start bringing everyone back together? So it's not like August 19th and we're like, hey, don't forget about the retreat tomorrow. And people are like, oh yeah, like, I think the ideal would be that everyone has posted something on Basecamp and has the meeting dates, and there's some dialogue happening, and they know, you know, so then when we come together on the 20th, like there's already a little bit of that connection that's happened. So if we could think of some ways to do that, I think it would really help us start right on the 20th.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So, I mean, what are the things? What are the things that bring people back together? Sophia, do you have any like thoughts on that? Like,
maybe kind of like an icebreaker. Like, let's say like we announce like, hey, it's coming up in a couple of days, but right now, what's your like favorite food or something like that?
good. Yeah, and Lucy, you be thinking too, like what bonds people together? What have you noticed? Like, is it food? Food is a great thing that can bring people together. And then, you know, make like a whole love bomb, not just food. Like what else? What else can you put in there? Like common experience brings people together. I don't know. Hatred of a common enemy. I'm kidding. But that is something that brings people together. Just don't use that. That's
Oh, anyway, that's good. Yeah, I mean, we have some built in on a practical level, like the check-in questions are really easy, but I think it could be fun for you and Lucy to, or maybe this is an opportunity to think, is there somebody in the cohort who would be really creative at helping? Like they're naturally an includer and they're going to shepherd everyone back together. Like, maybe there's 2 or 3 other people you all could employ to say, hey, will you, if I post this thing on Basecamp, will you make sure to comment and like tag people, or, you know, like maybe there's some
influencers. We need our influencers inside.
that's just some thoughts. Like, you know, if I were doing it, if I were the co-facilitator and thinking about your group, I would, you know, and you all weren't, I would be like, I'm going to text Lucy and Thea on the side and be like, hey, I'm posting this check-in question. Will you comment and then tag Maddie, like, and try to keep the train, you know, the telephone game going in a way, just to sort of help people get
Like popcorning it off to someone else to answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just
I like
throwing
it.
out some ideas there. So
Yeah, it's called building engagement.
I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that as the next step of like just to explore some ways to do that. And then other than anything else you all feel like we need to do between now and Monday?
Ooh, what's on Monday?
Monday the 15th, sorry. August 15th is our next call.
And when is the retreat?
The following Saturday.
All right. Well, what do we need to do to be ready for that? What's not ready for Saturday? What's not ready for the retreat yet, Fia? Would you say? I know we got to wrap up. I know we got to wrap up.
Well,
I don't
think
have to
you
be
may
anywhere.
want to do like in my framing, I have like snacks that like a snack break, so maybe getting snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to finish the agenda.
What are people's favorite? What are the best snacks for this cohort? That would be a good thing to
That,
find out.
that could be the icebreaker.
Yeah.
So we could decide.
And getting other people involved in snacks throughout the year could be fun too if you want, or maybe not. It just depends. I don't know. However you guys want to run it.
Okay. Does that look okay to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is how do we bring people back together around the project and get their heads, kind of back in the game and clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And, the excitement may have cooled down a little bit, so we want to re-engage. I think maybe if you find a really cool documentary, I mean, something that shows what's at stake with the issue. Um, yeah, yeah. I found some really amazing documentary channels on YouTube, and I think I watched so much of it, but I think I saw somewhere around there that they had. I even watched. I think I might even watch the whole thing around human trafficking, and so there's stuff out there. So see what you find, you know, grounding for the cohort. I don't want to. I don't want to get them emotionally like, because this is an emotion. This could be some of the stuff could be extremely like, yeah. So, but really to just kind of bring it home about what we're doing, why we're doing this, and then where did we leave off, and where do we want to go for the end of the year, and what do we need to do to get in shape? I want to say this too. I'm sorry. I think a lot of times people's commitments over the course of YPI changes. So picture each person's interest change, or getting jobs, or new activities, or learning to drive. I mean, so we need to make sure that people remember their commitment to YPI. I think that's an important part of year two, actually, as we think about it. All right, I'm sorry. That was a lot at the end, but we got anyway. Whatever else you guys want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the recording.
All right.